PALMA. January 19, 2019. Beloved love, children of love, humans walking on the ground of this earth, PALMA honors your presence and honors the love that you are. Before deploying my words for the second time, my first words were relayed by a messenger. Because of the special circumstances experienced by my own presence where I had given you an appointment, you all perceived my presence when you were on land, and yet, for those of you who were present on that day yesterday, you noticed that once on the water, my signal was no longer reaching you. Please understand that this is not your fault, nor mine, but disturbances in the ocean, where you were, as well as in the sea, caused by the presence of waves emitted by your iron vessels floating on the water, altering the diffusion of our signal and our presence in the water. By our presence here, and I'm speaking for all the peoples of the sea, having the same constitution and functioning as you, walking on land, is altered. Fortunately, by our presence, we bring together the waters from above and the waters from below, to work the miracle of love, since time immemorial, so that never will the signal of love be definitively extinguished. In a way, we are the guardians of authenticity as well as the memory of creation. As for the day yesterday, when me and my child could not find you in the water, you were found on your land. This is how other brothers and sisters of the same origins for us, the ancestral guardians, accompanied you in my place in the celebration of the ether. Don't worry, we don't suffer and we don't lose anything, even as we are torn apart by your iron ships. Suffering, unlike you, is unknown to us. Whatever form we take, among this water people, we are not affected by what you call suffering. Thus, the celebration of the ether was realized and perceived by many of you on earth, shortly after the first moments of the sun and all morning, for you. We are both density and lightness, we are at the same time the ancestral guardians of the one truth. We tirelessly propagate, despite the waves of your iron ships, the signal of love. Our songs, whatever our forms and specificities, come from all over this planet, whether you're on Earth or with us, the same. We celebrated, from all over the oceans and seas, the end of what was blocking full access to the truth. From now on, and despite the iron ships, we sing at every moment the resurrection, yours. It is with bliss and joy that we have most often supported your journey towards the truth in an invisible way. Do not be altered or disturbed by events that occur to our water people. For indeed, having removed what was called the primary anomaly, many of your scientists have grasped that we are the propagators of the light of truth, not only in our environment, but also on your land and the air of this planet. The celebration of the earth and the celebration of the ether were accompanied on this day yesterday by a number of changes that affected not only your consciousness, but also the unfolding of the unveiling. You may have been able, during the previous year, to experience and feel our density and lightness, because we have combined the waters from above and the waters from below. We were waiting for you to come. But as you may know, within this game of good and evil, which is unfortunately still at play for many humans on Earth, has led to a certain number of elements aimed at trying, without being able to succeed, to block our signal of love and life, spreading, as I said, not only into the elements of the Earth, but into all universes. Whatever our shapes, whatever our sizes, we are all in the same symphony and in the same truth. In these moments of magnified grace, the fusion of the threads, the fusion of the waters from above and the waters from below, is realized in you through the song of joy, which is the song of your laughter, as well as your smile. In this, we accompany you and will accompany you until the moment of the total unveiling of the truth of what creation is. We support each of you, whether through our dolphin brothers, whether through our different forms of what you call whales. We are connected from all eternity by what you have named, I believe, the Christic matrix, the matrix of freedom, the matrix of life, with no framework or limits. You thus discover in an increasingly extensive way the freedom to be, whatever the conditions of your form, as well as of this world. We will be more and more present, whether in your dreams, or in our communions. Indeed, the fusion of the Thes ended yesterday, at the celebration at the hour you call 10 o'clock, at the place where you were. Be reassured, because whatever happens to our bodies, it represents absolutely nothing for the love that we emit in any form whatsoever, within the water. The so-called matrix waters, the support of life and the organization of love, within the manifested worlds, within a framework and a form, appear to you today in the first truth of their uselessness, in the first truth of your eternity. We are available, and notice that I am not talking about myself, but about all of us together within the water people as we all are together in Agape resonance, with every heart that accepts it. Each encounter, whether in spirit or in form, realizes the alchemy of the final revelation of absolute truth. Be certain, for we assure you, that we are neither affected by the tears in our bodies, nor by the signals emitted by your iron ships, which can only prevent us from finding our way where we are. That's why yesterday we were placed in a specific place, inaccessible to you. But nevertheless, our dolphin brothers who accompanied you, by their number and their dance, celebrated with you the ether and the fusion of the Thes. As you will now see on the surface of your earth, every day from now on, the processes of revelation will reach an intensity never equaled, where nothing that remained hidden in you as circumstances of this world, can be hidden. This unveiling is only suffering if you oppose yourself, and becomes likeness and bliss from the moment you embrace and accept. By passing through the circumstances of your lives, as we do in our own way within the water, you realize in yourself the essential freedom of love prior to any creation, to any dream. Our songs and waves, as I told you, only affect the environment in which we are, but in no way prevent the Agape resonance offered to everyone, from the moment you, humans, embrace us and accept what is happening, beyond any questioning and beyond any doubt. From now on, a form of mutual trust is established between the people of water and the people of the earth's surface. This concerns you, humans, but also all lives, whether they are within the fauna or flora, explaining what you have been observing with you since the past month. That is, despite winter, the spring of life is reborn in the depths of winter, even before the apparent spring has arrived. Because like what happens in the fauna and flora, you live in the same way, both your regeneration, your resurrection, and your beatitude, reflected in your song that is ours, but manifested for you by the laughter and smile, the brightness of your eyes and the brightness of your presence magnified by your absence within this body and this form, while staying and remaining there, beyond any appearance. Each of you is called by us as well as by each of you to live this. The celebration of the ether and the fusion of the Thes carried out makes it possible to amplify and increase the number of brothers and sisters of the earth, be it humans, fauna and flora, as I said, can no longer be altered or modified by the cyclical aspects of this enclosed world, that you call the course of time, that you call the apparent movement of Gaia around the Sunday. You discover, indeed, from the moment you embrace it, that there is neither time, nor space, nor dimensions, but only the uniqueness of creation, having been present within the alpha of creation, resolving itself into the omega of creation. Like us, you have walked all the possible paths of the manifestation, from the first breath and the first inspiration of creation to its last exhalation. This resonance is a resonance between the elements that are no longer separated or divided, but that really and concretely alchemized, as you see it all around you on the planet. I would also like to tell you and confirm that there is absolutely no point in being concerned or worry about any disruption. Today, we insist more particularly in view of the intensity of the processes taking place on Earth at whatever level, not to enter into any reaction, any fear. For as it has been expressed to you by countless voices for countless years, we're one, beyond all ideas, representations and conceptions. We don't care about the scenery, we don't care about what is seen. The essential part of the freedom that is found and lived, for the whole of Gaia and for the whole of creation, is realized before your eyes, in your heavens as well as on earth, to perform the miracle of one thing. This is, of course, the end of fragmentation, the end of questioning. Because love is all the answers and ends all questions. So yes, your laughter and smiles, the brightness of your eyes, under any circumstance of your apparent self, only amplifies our singing, and we sing together, whatever the way we sing it, the same uniqueness, the same truth, the same love, independent of dimensions, independent of forms, and independent of creation itself. From now on, in all circumstances, except, of course, when your iron ships scramble our location in the water, but we too can now touch you much more directly and resonate in Agape with you, beyond any physical contact. Of course, in all seas, in all places, and whatever the circumstances, I repeat, whether it is to hunt us down and destroy this body, whether it is to honor us, whatever, do not be affected by what some humans are still projecting against us, because you must grasp and accept that even if we have a constitution similar to the level of functioning that you call mammals, the essential difference for us, the people of the sea, is that we have no opportunity to manifest any suffering, because it is just as illusory as this world itself. The game of creation, as you may have been told, has never begun and will never end, because it is part of a dream, and this dream, which was the expression of the game of consciousness, can now cease. People of the earth, human as well as fauna and flora, as well as minerals, are now together in the same uniqueness, in this link of freedom that is called resonance and Agape. It happens in silence. My words are there, in a way, only to support the peoples of the earth's surface in their ascension, their regained freedom, and in the spontaneity of laughter and joy that occurs as soon as you erase any claim to be compartmentalized, to be suffering or to question yourself. So, then, we support you as you support us, in this rediscovery of yourselves and in the end of the dream that has, I remind you, never existed. So I ask you, the people of the surface, not to be affected by the appearance of what you see, in any exaggeration whatsoever. For you will discover that behind what you call the events of this time, which are already amply manifested, can in no way deviate or derive you from laughter and smile, from the song of life and the song of freedom. We invite more and more of you to come and see us, in order to strengthen the fusion of the affairs in a complete way, as it had been announced many years ago and realized at the time at the level of what was called the blue. Wherever we are in your waters, we are also, by resonance, in your inner water, that of your flesh, like that of Mary, then making it possible to overcome all antagonism, whether within the appearance, and what we call, male or female, making you rediscover the vitality and exuberance of life within the androgynous, so that you are no longer just men or women, but men and women at the same time. The name I gave you, Phi-M, which I think was written in a way that may not be entirely accurate, because there is no powerful spelling to reflect that name. Phi-M is not only the combination of two words or two syllables, but maintains the Agape resonance, not only within the human being, the incarnated humanity, but much more on the whole of creation, as I have said. This unity of resonance and reliance, of freedom and love, comes in a way to complete the celebration of being and non-being by the fusion of the waters from above and the waters from below, leading you to the Spirit of Truth, to the Paraclete, whose manifestation, whatever your form and whatever the state of that form, is nothing but laughter and smiles, and lightness, despite the density and thanks to the events you are experiencing at this very moment. So you support us with your openness, with your laughter, as we support you with our songs, with our contacts, whether in our environment or in the air of the earth, on the surface of the earth. As you can see, and in an ever-increasing number for you, the spread of love within the ternary which was named for you Christ, Mary and Michael, named in slightly older times the Eucharist. The Eucharist is not only about eating the body or eating the blood, as it was made to be said to the one who was Christ, but much more about this celebration and resonance of the Thes, putting an end to all the frames of reference, to all the distances and to the characteristics and specificities of what you call the four elements. The celebration of the ether is nothing more than the restitution of the ether of freedom that had been amputated within certain worlds. Today, by that grace of love and agape, you must let yourself be infused and bestowed. Because it is in this agape and this resonance that you create, by the song that we manifest, as well as by the flowering of the second spring within the winter, that everything calls you, whatever you think, to celebrate life, whatever the suffering and whatever the circumstances. For this is how you realize not only the truthfulness of agape, but also the truthfulness of the primacy of love and light over all dimensional circumstances, over all suffering, as over all events. It had been said by some of the humans who have expressed themselves among you from other dimensions that there was only fear or love, but you will very quickly notice that even the deepest fears than the most usual conditioning of your human society can in no way curb the deployment of agape. It is done with you, it is done with us, but it is also done without us and without you, from the moment you embrace the circumstances, whatever they may be, of the dream of creation that you are completing. Because everything that can happen to you, whether it is at the level of humans, fauna or flora, elementary manifestations, or what you call societal organization, within the various communities on Earth, gives you back to freedom unconditioned by any form, concept or history. What was called this naked truth, this joy without object or naked joy, becomes more and more obvious to many of you at every moment. And you can only rely on this evidence and less on the circumstances of your body, your life or your country. Because agape takes every place and every space, just as it takes every time, every continent and every people in an undifferentiated way, with the same intensity and the same beauty. I would even say that, today, and as you are experiencing for many of you, the more you accept and embrace, the more beauty is revealed in you, whatever the appearances, whatever the sufferings. Then, the evidence becomes the permanent dance of joy, the burning of the fire of love, the burning of the elements of the earth, which restore you to freedom that suffers no form or condition. In this, the flowers bloom despite the season. In this, the animals, as you call them, discover themselves to be something else. In the same way as in your humanity and simplicity, you discover the majesty of what does not belong to form or dimension, but represents the whole of creation, in whatever sphere it may be. So from now on, let it be the peoples of water, let it be the peoples of the earth, let it be the peoples of the air, let it be the peoples of the other dimensions. Join us, through the attraction of agape, this attraction that is not subject to any limitation, nor to any repulsion. It is indeed the union of the waters above and below, their union and resonance, that unveils the Paraclete, the spirit of the Son and the impersonal, and places each of you in the same freedom and manifestation still within this world, of the one who had presented herself to you some time ago and named Enowaden. You are invited, in all the circumstances of your life, whether in suffering, deprivation or opulence, to discover this essential truth, to incarnate it, to live it and to show it in the face of the world as in the face of all creations. It is here, on Gaia, that all illusions are resolved and that the initial freedom is found to be experienced in these final moments. It had been said by many of the speakers to whom you had been accustomed, that there was fear or love, and today, I invite you to verify by yourselves by accepting, that love cannot be accommodated with any suffering at any level whatsoever. There is neither to judge you, nor to feel responsible for anything, but simply to see precisely that is, suffering or love. Because whatever you say, you, people living on the surface of the earth where suffering is omnipresent, whether for you, humans, or for all the peoples of the earth, except, of course, those who have lived in the three dimensions for a long time, the peoples of nature, as they have been called, have accompanied you during these years. They have also been the relays on earth for what we do in the water. The waters from above have fertilized not only the waters from below, but also the peoples of creation, from this earthly dimension to, of course, beyond the source. Each of you is Abba. Do not see in this a personification of anyone on earth, simply see your intrinsic and ultimate truth. There is no other precondition than to be in this form of openness and in this total acceptance of everything that can pass through your eyes, your body or your consciousness. For everything that happens in its most horrible aspects for your eyes, as well as the lightest for your consciousness, ultimately participates in the same dance, the same evidence and the same semblance, I would say, of completion. For what is perfect does not have to be perfect or be perfected, it is evidence, before any manifestation within any form, as well as in any world. As you were told, you just forgot. Because the veil of oblivion is not your fault either, but simply because of the particular circumstances of this world called the earth, which is ultimately at the origin of all creation. The source is not a distant point represented on the skin of heaven, as you call the Pleiades and Ulsan, this is in your heart, as it is everywhere on earth. The earth actually represents the first and last creation, leading to the understanding that all this was only a dream, and that discovering the freedom of love, whatever the suffering and whatever the disorder, you discover freedom. Even through this limited form, you can no longer be shaken, the more you let this embrace take place within you, through some circumstance of your body, your life in this world, or creation as a whole. We will not only be in Agape resonance, but also connected to you, as soon as you come to our element, in every possible way. We celebrate with you the revelation of this ancestral memory, we celebrate with you this fusion of the Thes, the moment when the waters of the mystery join the waters of matter, to perform the miracle of only one thing, thus fulfilling the truth of love. By developing more and more this matrix named Christic by the Agape resonance, you discover every day that you can only laugh and smile. Love can only laugh and smile, love can only be declared by singing, by presence and by dancing, everything else only passes through. So, we, the people of the sea, invite you, at every moment and in every breath of your life, whatever the age of this body, whatever the country and whatever the opulence or suffering, to let love grow, to let Agape grow. There is no need for your person, there is no need for worlds, there is no need for form, there is no need for vision. There is simply a need to be fair and true. But you cannot be totally true by starting from yourself, but simply by letting yourself move away, by the infusion and diffusion of Agape, in every part of your being and non-being, to perform this miracle of one thing, leading you to realize, if I can say so, that you can claim nothing but to be this truth. If you accept, love will grow. If you embrace, Agape will be the solution, for the sufferings of this body, for the sufferings of your thoughts, as well as for any imbalance. Remember that you have nothing specific to ask for, but simply to celebrate Agape, by the smile on your lips, by the brightness of your eyes, and by embracing in a total and unrestricted way everything that can present itself to you, in the most majestic aspects, which is easy, as in the apparently darkest aspects. Thus, not only does the light illuminate and reveal what must be, but also, really and concretely, liberates you from the last habits, from the last conditioning within being and believing yourself to be a form, even within the free worlds. The Agape resonance effectively makes it possible to give free rein to the flow of love, in a sense that you could call emanation or external radiation, as in the sense of interiority and emptiness. Thus, you discover that nothing can be separated, but that everything is connected in the freedom of love. This reliance cannot be accommodated by the slightest suffering, and yet it is the suffering that makes you discover this. It depends, of course, on what was called by various speakers from the Star People as well as from Earth, true freedom. True resilience, true surpassing. You will find it less and less in cogitation, less and less in explanations, less and less in your activities of what is seen, perceived or felt, but on the contrary, in the combined emptiness of your presence and absence. The non-being met the being, the waters from above meet the waters from below, and this happens first within the water, the physical water of the earth, especially in the seas and oceans, but also in the rivers, but also in the waters that fall from the clouds. All waters are affected, and, of course, so is your body's water. Many inspired human brothers have rediscovered some of the virtues of water. Water is the support of life, but it is also the support of joy, because water can no longer be restrained within this celebration. The same is true for your conscience, from the moment you accept your own suffering, even if it will have to be dealt with afterwards. You reveal Agape, and Agape reveals itself in you, because that is who you are, that is who we are, from the atom to our most imposing bodies on earth. You have understood that the time has come for celebration, but this celebration, even if it is magnified during certain circumstances such as our encounters, is inexorably deployed for everything that is present within creation. As has been said, what you are experiencing was, of course, already prepared and recorded. That is why you have been told not to judge, because when you have forgotten, you can only judge. But as the oblivion comes to an end, the judgment disappears on its own. You don't have to make any effort. It is rather in the order of relaxation, it is rather in the order of embracing and accepting, that the solution and resolution of anything that happens on the screen of your consciousness, in this body, in the relationships between the different peoples of the earth and the stars are found. You see it in your heavens as around the sun. What was called the whole intergalactic confederation of free worlds is now available for this celebration. This is what is perceived, seen and passed through. Everything else is totally insignificant. Whether it is your possessions, whether it is your ideas, whether it is your desires or your achievements, they can only be erased in front of Agape. Then we, whales and sea peoples, will sing in an increasingly visible way, in an increasingly apparent way, because nothing can be hidden anymore, because the breath of freedom becomes the very evidence, in any appearance whatsoever. However, cross-appearances, even if they may sometimes still seem harsh or painful to you, because behind this hardness and suffering, there is only the lightness of Agape's truth, the evidence of the dance, the smile and the laughter. You have found each other, and we are with you. This communion does not only concern the peoples of nature, not only certain groups of humans, but the whole of human societal organization, enlightening even those who logically believed they were authorized to exercise power over you, whether it be any human or any hierarchy. In fact, through this bag of meat, you are the temple of truth. You are in it, but you are not that. Accept it and you will experience it, without questions and interrogations, without doubt and without scruples, and without hesitation. I, but also the people of water, will address many of you, sometimes with words, sometimes with this incredible enjoyment of the truth. Above all, remember, because it is important, that there is no effort to be made. Because the effort will be, and you will see it, and you will experience it, every effort will be more and more suffering, while every abandonment will be more and more love and joyful. It is in this game that is played on earth, in whatever appearance, that you reveal your beauty and the truth that you are, prior to any form or dimension. It is no longer time to develop concepts or feelings. It is no longer time to work on anything now, but really to let the work be done. This work is done on its own. It does not need you as individuals, but it needs you in who you are, in every other, in every flower, in every animal, in every mineral, in every dimension. Because everything happens in you, through you, and it is in this journey that you discover that you are not you as you thought you were, but that you are the whole manifestation as what has never manifested itself, in this world as in any world. Of course, and you will also notice that as soon as we are in celebration as we are now, as we were yesterday, as we were at other times, the whole of creation is affected. Wise men among you have said that when a butterfly wing or spider web breaks on earth, it is all the universes that are shaken. Today, Agape is not only shaking, but consuming all your certainties, illusions and dreams, like all nightmares, in an increasingly visible way, for each of you. Because you can only ultimately agree, you can only embrace. Because life is a gift, and as long as you have given yourself, and the more you accept to let yourself go through, the more you discover the liveness of being and non-being united in an apparent form. It is therefore the end of all partitioning, of all separations and of all suffering. It is also the end of believing that we are separated, that we are different, according to a color of skin, and for us, it is the same thing. Even if some of our fellow creatures put an end to our bodies, they do not see any predation in them. In the same way as in an earlier time called Atlantis or earlier, in Hyperborea and Lemuria, you were not so locked into the identity of one form and you could leave your body, let it die to take another, as is the case within the manifestations of life in the unified worlds. But we could not leave you in the dream of suffering and in the dream of illusion. You have accomplished the task, and today it is up to you to let go, to abandon yourself and to give yourself, without restriction and without breaks. Because restrictions and obstacles come only from your habits in shape and the need to preserve what you call your achievements. Love is never an acquisition, but a restitution. In this way, you free yourself from all the ingrams, not only from your own predation towards yourself, but also from all the stories of confinement. This is indeed what you could call a great forgiveness, which is also this celebration. You have had the opportunity to check in a number of ways what was called only a few months ago the absorption of essences. It is this that makes you discover that there is only one essence that is the impulse of life, that brings you back to what was said in other times, and you can affirm, I am the Alpha and the Omega, and I'm much older than that. So, peoples of the earth, whether you are human, mineral, vegetable, animal, and you, peoples who arrive on earth, in your ships, rest assured, we are there with everyone, in every moment and in every circumstance. There is no need even to think of us or to call us, just to be there and place yourself in the gift of yourself at the same time, in the absolute acceptance of all that is present and all that is absent. Thus, whatever the apparent complexity, everything becomes simplicity, everything becomes resilience and everything becomes truth. The consummation of Agape love is realized in countless ways in each of you. I will not list your circumstances, they concern you, but simply remember that even in the most traumatic event concerning your life, your body, your family or your world, just behind or just after and at the same time, there is only the unspeakable beauty of Agape. You do not have to seek or seek yourself. You have nothing to eliminate. You have nothing to acquire. You have nothing to keep. You restore yourself by yourself, beyond the individual you think you are within a form. This is a celebration of the ether of life, brought by the creative mothers during the first dream of creation, which obviously happened. It was revealed to you, on this earth which was in exile. Some of you have perceived this term, that the earth was a dump. But it is in the dump, in what you might call the fermentation of life, that life blooms and is revealed in what it is, an opportunity for joy, an opportunity to laugh and smile, an opportunity to play. But indeed, you can see that many of you, whatever you did, in the inner sense, you could understand and live that it was only a game that was just passing. So forgive everything, eat everything, as has been said, do not reject anything. This is your unique posture and positioning, which creates freedom in you, which creates freedom on this earth, as in all worlds. Nothing is partitioned anymore. The waters from above have merged with the waters from below to perform the miracle of only one thing. This is what my song translated into words for the one who accepted to embrace my words, but also my presence. During our first meeting, the messenger delivered to you an essential message that I invite you to read again. Many of you will receive music, words, many of you will receive our presence and all the presences, showing you that all the presences are ultimately only an absence in form and limits, and in frames of all dimensions. No matter how long it seems to you, because if time still seems to be passing, whether out of spite or hope, it is because you are not Agape and you are not available. You are available by time, you are available to suffering, and you maintain it in this way without even realizing it. I believe that this has been called by some of those who have revealed it to you, by countless voices, here too, the present moment of the here and now. There is no other solution than this one, and from the moment you are no longer in the present moment, then you suffer. This is neither a punishment nor a justification, but simply the normal play between naked love and what is only conditioned and conditional love. So of course, during these words that are spoken, where I stand, not very far from you, here, in this space, my words are only the rhythm of my singing. The celebration is now done live, as these words flow through this human body and resonate throughout the earth, and celebrate life in all universes. Do not see in it any aptitude of the human being who embraces me, because your capacity to embrace is exactly the same for each of you, humans, as for all the named peoples of nature, as for the whole creation of this world, as for all creations. So we, the water people, invite you to this. This celebration, which has been made and realized, is accessible beyond time and space, of course, otherwise it would not be true, and I would even say across all dimensions. As you have understood, the earth is the center of creation, the earth is the center of the dream, but it is also the beloved's heart of creation, Emzendka. We invite with you the whole of creation to the feast of love, the feast of truth. No one can be excluded, even if he is the most opposed today. Because who can refuse love in abundance, who puts an end to all lack, who puts an end to all suffering, as well as to all resistance. During my own words, there, at this moment, this celebration extends over the whole earth as well as in all dimensions. And every time one of you, humans on earth, resonates with us, whether physically or as ethereally as possible, does not change the outcome. The result is the laughter of joy and the smile of peace. The result is the evidence found, the lightness of childhood, the simplicity of life, the humility of the one who is nothing within a form and yet is everything in all forms. That is what makes you clear, that is what clarifies you, and that is what transparency is. Remember, you have never suffered, no matter how much you suffer, because what suffers is precisely what was separated, divided, compartmentalized and believing itself to be an individual, believing itself to be affected by evil, by disease, by that confinement of society itself. All this no longer applies. That's what you experience every minute from now on, every breath. And this is not only for you, the human people of the earth, as I said, but for the whole of creation, but also for the whole of what is present on the surface of this earth. Do not be alarmed by any circumstance in your life or in this world, because the truth of love is established and nothing can resist it, and I would even say that no one would want to resist or oppose it. It is only the fear of love today, inscribed through habits and certain behaviors, that may still seem to deprive you of this. But remember that the circumstances of your body, your abundance or your poverty, at whatever level, are there only for the same outcome, what you are, beyond being and non-being. If you keep this present in you, there is no obstacle that cannot seem to resist. There has never been an obstacle to love, there has simply been forgetting. And do not judge those who have locked you up, for somewhere beyond the appearance, they are your liberators, because they too had forgotten, and from the moment they find themselves, there is only love, forgiveness and grace. Only the one who is inscribed in suffering, who does not see the love of creation, who can still express resentment. As I told you, the same is true for the dates you can search for. In love, there are no dates. The events of this earth are about illusion, but they are not about who you are. Whatever the appearances, whatever your experience may still be, it disappears the moment you agree to live, and not to take hold of any concept or anything. Remember, you have nothing else to do but celebrate every moment and every breath of your life, whether with us, with the husband, the wife, or with the worst of enemies. Because naked love simply means that you no longer need anything else. This is what we must recognize as evidence in you, through the appearances of this world, through its own dissolution. Because nothing has ever been created, and only the unchanging eternity of joy, independent of forms of any world, is the only truth. As you know, the oath and promise was recorded by the release and dissolution of the primary anomaly. From that point on, if you can call it that, the game has changed. Remember, if you feel like you're making an effort, you're not in Agape yet. If you have the impression of questioning yourself, Agape cannot be complete. If you attach more importance to suffering or illness than to love, you are not in Agape. Until now and again not long ago, you had to take care of this body, understand things. Agape asks you none of this, but asks you to embrace, to accept, and at that moment, you discover and install in yourself the 4 pillars, which are resolved in the 4 elements, themselves resolving in the ether. Everything, absolutely everything that is lived and that will be lived, has the sole function of revealing who you are, beyond being. But you cannot distance yourself from the truth by questioning or understanding it. It is only when you accept the truth that it is revealed in you. But you do not need to know it, to understand it or to grasp it, but here again to let it be, to let it live. You have no other alternative, and soon you will find that there is no other alternative and that it cannot even be thought of other than Agape. This is the permanence of Agape, which is becoming more and more intense everywhere. Do not be alarmed by this lighting, which can sometimes be violent in terms of the organization of life on this world. Just resound in this Agape resonance, just embrace, and everything else is done by itself. This is what you have to demonstrate to yourself, in a way, and it will become easier and easier. I would say, it is still necessary to be not too obsessed with what the screen of this world shows you, whether in its most sordid or luminous aspects, present in your heavens through the ships of the intergalactic confederation of free worlds. Of course, this is seen, but at some point, you have to accept not just to see it or to have it confirmed by your vision, but really and against any expectations you might think of letting Agape be. Not only in the resonance you experience, but you will soon notice it in Agape's spontaneity, through every gesture, every look, every silence, every word, spoken by a child as by an old man, as if by the roar of a lion. This is the celebration that is underway, and soon you can only celebrate the truth. Everything else will be annihilated by the power of Agape. I remind you that whatever sensations, whatever perceptions you may have of Agape, I remind you that Agape is not in you, but above all, between each of you, between each of us. Between each of us here, on this plane, and all the other planes. Agape is resilience, Agape is spontaneity, Agape is the way of simplicity, childhood, transparency and humility. You cannot escape this, you can only see it and agree with it, and cross it. To every word, from now on, and to every contact, between you as between us and you, as within nature, as within the amazed gaze of the child, as within the amazed gaze of the circumstances of your body or of this world, does not make any difference as to the resultant, which is the inexorable progression of this joy. This has been clearly stated to you by various voices for many years. Everything you have understood, built, grasped and vibrated, is now fading before the majesty of love, who only needs acceptance and silence to magnify everything that could remain of vision, of the illusion of any future or any dimension. You are previous to consciousness, you discover it and live it today in an increasingly clear way. So yes, let us celebrate, with each physical contact, each resonance that you create, between you, between us, with us, as well as from everywhere, even in the other dimensions, and especially for those who until now were called predators, administrators, too. There is no alternative but to understand and accept that this too is in you. This is what puts an end to all suffering and distance. Of course, during these words and at this precise time when I am speaking, the celebration takes place everywhere on earth, in different ways. But you will also see it for each of you, from the moment you celebrate Agape by resonance or silence, by embracing, by that gift of yourself, by your eyes, by your gestures. Well, you will grasp this, because you will experience it. But this will not be an understanding or the result of a questioning, ever. In this regard, I invite you all, like the fauna and flora, like the intergalactic peoples, we, the ancestral guardians and guardians of joy that you call dolphins, beyond our stellar origins, are here to accompany the end of the dream, which has never begun, in fact. That's right, Agape. By that I mean that as long as you talk about love, as long as you think about tomorrow, as long as you even see a new land, you are not in Agape. It is not possible. Because Agape does not need any becoming, any world, and especially no one. But this, even if today you reject it, whatever your visions, whatever your ambitions, even on a spiritual level, you will quickly understand that all this is a decoy and that you will laugh about it, even if today it seems distant to you. This celebration will be witnessed not only among the human people and the peoples of nature, but also in your heavens, through colors, through shapes, but also in all universes. It also means that acceptance is the key element that realizes forgiveness and absolves what may have seemed to be a fault, but which ultimately was only meant to lead you to this moment of celebration. So, forget time, forget space, forget yourself, have no claim to any becoming, even if it can be seen, but be totally here and now. Because it is between hic and nungs that is realized, or if you prefer, the ether. So, allow me, at this precise temporal moment, to resonate in each of you, human people, as intergalactic peoples. The whole of creation, wherever it is, at this precise moment, is realized. It's not related to me, it's not related to you, it's not related to anything. This is the true freedom that depends on nothing and no one, and especially not on the circumstances of this world or any world. So, I say, with you and in you, these will be my last words at this moment. May my song resonate in all that is created, which is none other than your song, the song of silence and truth. Agape, 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 agape. Agape, agape. Laughs. Settled in the heart, in the heart of goodness, in the heart of harmony. Agape. 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 In the great silence and joy, you are blessed from all eternity by yourselves, for there is no one else. Laughs. Agape in the highest heaven, agape in the deepest part of the earth. I honor your presence and absence, as each of you honors life. Agape, 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 agape. Laughs. Forever. Nothing can never be separated again. Agape. Laughs. Through Jean-Luc Ayoun. Les transformations. Transcription into French. Agape team. English translation. LMF.